Braving the Storm by Elliot Rose.
Ooh.
It's really it is a smut. Let's just go with that. It is about another cowboy who is an ex-bull rider. It is a taboo romance between there's an age gap and nebulous like familial connection. So if that's your thing, that's what's in there. And it is a sequel to what's it called?
Chasing the Wild? Is that what?
Chasing the Wild.
Yeah.
And that one was also an age gap. But this one is very good. It's very, very steamy. It's like forced proximity kind of deal. They're out there in the storm and they have I loved it. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's really good.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to reading that. Because like I said, I need some things to read. I need some different things to read. I'm really happy that we're going to be starting our physical retros.
Me too.
Pocket. Guys, these were called pocket books.
They fit into your pockets perfectly.
Yep. So I'm excited. We do want to start reading some other ones that we have, but I think this is a good one to start with. This one, I know we're in the post show now, but like this one's only not even 400 pages.
Yeah,
390.
It's not.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad, and it doesn't look. It looks pretty easy to digest too. So
yeah, I just
I'm
love the
excited
smell.
for this one.
I love that smell.
Oh, I do too. That is a nostalgic smell.
Yes. This is like age gap, by the way. This is an age gap.
It is one of my favorite tropes.
It is an age gap. It is enemy. It's not enemy to lovers. But I mean, I think you're gonna like this one. I do. I really do. I'm excited to see what you think of it. There is some hard topics in this, though. So
okay, I'm cool with that.
Historically hard topics. I mean, it is Louisiana.
It's Yep.
In the 1800s. All right, Cass. So, what do we want to talk about in this post show?
I don't really have anything glaring to get off my brain. I feel like I had a topic and then I forgot. We can get into talking about I don't know if you saw the video I sent you about the it was like the Funky Frog Bait video about talking about clit talk, BookTok stuff.
Okay.
It's super. I mean, it starts off with them bringing to light people's controversy with BookTok and how it's always these middle-aged people, and it's not really middle-aged, it's like women in their 30s. Come on, get over yourself, young blood, that are into smut and have to rate everything based off the spice level. And it's not a critique about that, it's a critique of the people critiquing it. Yeah. It starts off that way, but then they're like, well, excuse me, our society is very sexual, and you see all of these kind of commercials on TV.
Yeah.
Sexual.
I did watch most of it. I think I have like 10 minutes left. It's not a very long video, guys.
It's not. It's about like 30 minutes long.
I would suggest listening to it. It's very interesting. Very, very good. And they do have a point. Like, But this is a point that's been made many times, because this is not the first time women and their literary choices have been called into question. Now, I get it. Like,
happens every like 20 years or so.
oh, it's constant. There's never
Yeah.
it happens every 20 years. No, it's constant. Like,
It's constant,
I'll
yeah.
give some examples. But I know it's kind of rich that we're talking about like people criticizing smut and shit like that, considering that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, though, where we differ is we're not telling you not to write or not to read.
No.
We're not doing that at all. We're asking authors to write better.
There's a fundamental difference between what we're doing and
Right, what our goal is and what other people like. Watching that video, listening to that video, and then seeing, just based on, I'm not on TikTok, I will preface that, but some of the TikToks that they used as examples, like the guy that said, "Oh, I just read Pride and Prejudice, and I'm going to look for another one from TikTok, and all I see is fairies fucking." And I'm like,
So
okay,
dumb.
wait a minute. He's
That's
like, why aren't...
fundamentally wrong.
He's like, what? Where's all the true romances? Like, why aren't women reading things like Pride and Prejudice and Emma and stuff like that? I'm like, first of all, we have, like most of us have. They are classics for a reason. But, let's back up, okay? Jane Austen, in her time, had to publish her books anonymously.
I thought she did as a man first, or was it? It was anonymous.
Her brother published for her.
Okay.
But like he literally walked them down to the publishing house because it was seen as below class to be writing novels. Novelists were women at the time, okay? Remember, this is Regency era. But novelists, novel reading was seen as a woman's pursuit. If a man was reading, he was reading for knowledge.
Yes.
Penny Dreadfuls and stuff like that, those were women's pursuits. So being a novelist was like it was a curse word. Like, oh, you're a novelist.
Oh, wow.
That was like only attributed to women, you know? It wasn't until much later that it became like a lofty pursuit, you know? Which, again, case in point, Frankenstein was a woman's story.
Yes.
Like, that is what set that genre off. But it was still a woman author who published it. And because she had the money and the prestige, she was able to publish it under her own name and not have some of the issues that, say, like Jane Austen did. Jane Austen published as a lady. She didn't put her name on until she died. She did die alone. And if I remember correctly, in the company of her sister, who also died alone.
Oh, wow.
Like, their family was, they were gentry. They were
gentry,
higher,
but lower gentry.
Lower gentry. They were poor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even as gentry, there were poor people. So like they didn't have any money. She didn't have anything to her name, and whatever money she did have went to support her and her sister. But she like died in her 40s or 50s or something like that, penniless and alone. Like, she never married. Yeah, it was a thing.
Yeah.
But novel reading was seen as a frivolous pastime.
Crazy.
And it's always been that way. Like,
I guess, I don't know. I guess I think the stereotype still persists today.
Yeah. I mean, and it just, like, the form of the romance has changed. That's all. Because, like, if you think about Jane Austen, she didn't set out to write a romance. She was writing what she saw. Like, historically, we know that, like, many of her characters she drew from her family. Like, a lot of those characteristics were from people she knew. They were situations that she found herself in and witnessed. They were there. I mean, every single one of her books is driven primarily by dialogue. You know, they weren't considered romances though until much later. They did give a very glowing view of the time, of the era, but it's just it was just how she told her stories, you know. And now people hold that up as a classic, as a paragon of virtue in the romance genre. But to be frank, that's not what it started out as.
It definitely
Nobody,
didn't.
only women bought it. And nobody considered it a classic until many, many, many years later.
Didn't they also call it like vulgar too? Like,
yeah,
they did not like how candidly the women were feeling and thinking.
well, yeah, because like there's very, very frank conversations about why a woman should wed, why she needs to marry well. You know, like it was a commentary of the time and the place.
Yep.
It is now seen as a romance, as classic romance, but that just shows how things evolve.
Things evolve and society has changed.
Right. So I would say that yes, holding Pride and Prejudice as a staple, it just shows where we started and now where we're at. So, yeah, there was maybe some kissing and hand-holding in Jane Austen, and now we're at menages with knots, okay? Like, everything changes, everything evolves.
Everything, yeah.
And they did make a very good point in that commentary about BookTok and smut and stuff like that. I would say that this is a lot safer way to consume porn, if we're going to label it that, which I kind of do, than any visual art right now.
100,000%. That's my biggest takeaway, because in how hypocritical people are for criticizing that.
Yeah.
Because yes, there are groups out there that are against porn, visual porn, but it's not the majority.
No.
But criticizing lit talk for reading porn,
yeah,
is not it.
Now let's step back. Okay, a lot of it is based in misogyny. Okay,
it is. Real. It's very thinly veiled.
we talked about before self-inserts. Every author self-inserts to some extent. We have to. One. Okay, I try even in my fucking writing, I try very hard not to self-insert, but I'm going to write what I feel is like fucking attractive and advantageous and stuff like that. Like, it's normal. But to say that there is no merit in literature because it's all self-inserted fantasies, that's bullshit. That's absolutely bullshit. Mark Twain wanted to be that little boy sailing down the fucking river. It's the same shit, okay? It's just a different kind of fantasy.
Yes.
And there's no problem
these
with
books
that.
Are self-insert.
On top of that, let's look at it in another direction, okay? Smut is right now saving the print industry.
It sure is.
COVID did wonders for people to get people back into reading, okay? And that is one thing that I need to say, because I know I gripe about poor writing technique every fucking episode. But the fact that people are writing and people are reading this bullshit is a godsend. Because I can within seconds know that some people, just by talking to them, have never picked up a book.
Yeah.
Like outside of school. And maybe not even in school. And on top of that, because people were reading, people were not just reading the content on their Kindles. Some people were like, I miss holding a book.
Yeah.
And that really has saved a lot of bookshops, printing businesses, publishing houses. Like, they are moving a lot digital because they don't have to store physicals like you would. They don't have to have a warehouse, and they don't have to worry about costs in a physical sense. And they are saving money just moving it to digital. But there are a lot of people that are always going to want a book.
Right.
So, if anything, we can thank Smut for saving Book World.
I agree.
And I think there's something that needs to be commended for that.
And that's kind of a point that Funky Frogbait didn't touch on. And I think maybe because they were focusing on the porn aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But I think that's also a huge positive to the rise of smut recently. So, and it's true. I think most people... When did the Kindle came out when it's like early 2000s.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 2006, 7, 8, something like that.
Yeah. It was pretty revolutionary for people who were already readers. Mm-hmm. And
you had the Kindle, you have the Nook. Like, the thing I knew about the Nook is that if you had a Nook, you could go into Barnes & Noble and read books for free. Like, you just had to be in a Barnes & Noble and you could read anything there for free. Yep. And for the longest time, I wanted a Nook for that. And then I was like, I don't want to fucking go to a store to read for free.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. That's kind of what I was getting at, is that the Kindle was simultaneously really good for literature and then also bad for bookstores and print. But now we have this kind of renaissance of smut ever since the pandemic. I think that's exactly it. I think the pandemic was a start of that. We were all at home. I think TikTok and Instagram Reels played a huge part of that, where people were home, so they were like, oh, I'm going to be on my phone and scrolling through. Oh, look, what is this person I like talking about? Oh, that's a fun, interesting fantasy where I can escape the doom of real life outside. So it is an ultimate fantasy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I'm not sad about that. I do hope that people will visit their local thrift shops and secondhand bookstores and find some of the classics and try and get some of these, because there's nothing wrong with these. I would actually say these are probably superior to what you're reading now. They're probably a little bit more tame, but just writing technique and like the stories are better and they're succinct. You know, like this is there are some multi-volume stories, you know.
Yeah.
But that as soon as you're done with this one, it's done. You know, even if there's another story continuing on with those characters, this story is done. You know, we're just gonna build. Whereas, like, with Avatar, you have to fucking read the next book because it's a fucking cliffhanger.
Yep.
And I don't know about you guys, but I have to finish some shit. I'm anal retentive that way. That doesn't mean I don't DNF because I fucking DNF a lot. I DNF more already this year than I did last year.
You did DNF Akatar, though. You're like, I'm going to finish the third book, and you're like, I'm not going to read anymore.
But I finished the third fucking book. It does not count as a DNF.
That is true. It doesn't count. But you didn't finish the series, which is fine.
Fuck that series.
In my perfect brain, not perfect brain. My brain is not perfect. In my perfect world, that series has 3 books. You don't need any more.
Yeah. Yeah. I did read 3.5.
You did? Ooh.
The Christmas Hallmark movie. You don't remember that?
No, I forgot that you read that.
Yeah, I did read that. That was the nail in the coffin. I said I will read this one because it's so fucking short. Worst decision ever.
I forgot you read that.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the post show. We are only doing the post show for our Apple Podcast subscribers, and our paid Discord members. If you'd like to join us on the podcast, we'd love to have you for either a show or for multiple shows. We have an application on our Discord for a co-host pool spot. We'd love to hear what you have to say and what books you like to read. Cass, I love you. Thank you for giving us The Poisoner. I can't wait to read When Strangers Marry with you for April. Guys, join us next time when we discuss When Strangers Marry. I'm not going to try and say her last name. It's Lisa Calepsis or something like that.
I'm going to say Claypass.
There we go. I'll let you say it from now on.
Okay.
You can find it on Goodreads. It does have a Goodreads rating, by the way.
Really?
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say that. We're going to close it out with the Goodreads for this because I was very, very interested in this. It has over 9,568 ratings on Goodreads.
Wow.
With a 3.67, almost 4 stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
It's not bad at all. Join us next month. We love to hear from you, so please give us a like, subscribe, share with your friends. Remember, guys, life is too short for vanilla. Enjoy some smut.
Enjoy smut.
Pretty Little Death is recorded by the Bestie and the Critic, edited by the Critic, graphics done by the Bestie. All opinions are original and in no way are paid by the author.